Hello, and thank you for joining us. This is Christy.
And this is Rose.
Well, Christy is a life coach at the Awaken Coaching.
Yes, and Rose is the founder of the Executive Woman.
Yes. And today we want to talk about language of choice and language of obligation. Christy, that's interesting.
It is, and it's fun because it can really change your life when you change your language. In fact, a lot of us don't even know what kind of language we're using because our minds are always chattering away to us.
Yeah.
Let's see if we can figure out what language of obligation sounds like.
When I feel obligated to do something, I will say I have to go to this party. I have to finish this work within this deadline. I should come with you. I need to do ABC. Yes.
Right, and so we heard I have to, which I think is the most common from most people. I have to, and like you said, even for going to a party. How funny that our language is that I have to go to a party.
Yeah.
What are we saying there? And I should, and I must. All those words are obligation words. Tell me a little bit, how do you feel when you tell yourself, I have to?
There's a lot of pressure there. I feel it's not my choice. And I'm there to please somebody else. There's a voice that's telling me to do something, and so I'm pressured to obey it.
Okay, so a lot of pressure. So let's change gears entirely. We've thrown off that language of obligation.
Yeah.
What about language of choice? What kind of words do you use when you get to choose?
I want to help
I want
you.
to.
I would love to.
I would love to.
I'll be happy to.
Yeah, sometimes it takes people a long time to get to I would love to.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
What about yes?
Saying yes. Well, it depends because yes is accepting to do something, but when I go and say I want to go to this party, then it's not just the same as me going to say yes, I'll go to the party. You know?
You can say yes
I want to go to the party
as an obligation, or what about no?
No, it's also a choice word for me, because when I say no, then I've taken control of my situation, my schedule.
Right.
Yes.
So in some ways, no, you felt is even more of a choice word than yes sometimes.
Than yes. Yeah.
Although yes, hopefully can
also a
often be a
choice.
choice.
Exactly.
Yeah, as long as you're paying attention. Right.
Mhm.
And even you use the words I will. Yes, I will go to the party. So I choose to go to the party because I'd love to go to the party, or I will go to the party. How about if what you're going to do is difficult or uncomfortable?
My choice answer for that?
Can you still use language of choice to do
Yeah.
something difficult?
Especially if what I'm going to do is difficult, and I use a choice language, like I will come, I will do this.
I will.
Then it gives me some energy
Right.
to go and do it. As much as it's uncomfortable, then it completely changes my mindset about it, because I feel I've chosen to do something difficult.
Right.
Yeah.
And so sometimes even if going to a party, which should be fun, can feel like an obligation when you're using language of obligation. However, going to visit someone in the hospital, you can say, I will visit that person because I want to. And it might not be fun, but what does your energy feel like when you choose to do something?
I feel energetic because I feel I'm in control of it, of whatever I'm doing. So it's it just changes.
And so what we want to see happen with the language of choice is for you to have freedom.
Freedom.
Okay.
That makes me remember the other thing about blaming. Because when something happens to me and I have somebody to blame, and I say, oh, the government.
Right.
You like to say.
Always a fun one.
You know, you say God, Satan, my boss, my husband, my wife. And how does that relate again to
Mhm.
the power of the language of choice and the language of obligation?
Yeah, I think that's what's happening a lot of the
Mhm.
time when we
Mhm.
do something
Mhm.
that is clearly not a choice.
Yeah.
It's not freedom.
Mhm.
It's
Mhm.
obligation.
Mhm.
And even if we think it's supposed to be fun,
Mhm.
it's usually, like you said, it's not our own voice talking.
Mhm.
It's not the voice of the Good Shepherd.
Mhm.
It's not the one who loves us most,
Mhm.
saying, you have freedom,
Mhm.
do which one you love the best.
Mhm.
It's another voice that could even be someone who's not in the room. A parent, like you said, maybe God, but probably not. Probably not the real God.
Yeah.
Probably a God that you've made up in your head who has a lot of shoulds and have to, and
Must.
that's not the true God
Mhm.
gives human freedom and always has from the beginning.
I think the key word that will take home
Mhm.
is freedom.
Right.
You know,
Right.
that the language of choice gives you freedom, and language of
Mhm.
obligation is giving you pressure. What would be the opposite word from freedom?
Yeah, it's like you're caged
Yeah,
in.
caged in.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and it's also strength. I think
Mhm.
freedom and strength,
Mhm.
because
Mhm.
some people are afraid,
Mhm.
and we can talk about our fears. A lot of people are afraid of
Mhm.
using the
Mhm.
language of choice because they think that it means that they're selfish. They think, oh, if I just do whatever I want to do, then
Mhm.
I would never go to work in the morning,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
And so what I like to do is, if I am saying to myself, oh, I have to go to work today,
Mhm.
and I notice that, oh, there was that have to word.
Yeah.
Okay, who's telling me I have to?
Mhm.
And do I need to use that language,
Mhm.
or can I change it? And so then I say, okay, could I say,
Mhm.
I want to go to work today? Maybe. If you're a life coach, or if you're the founder of the Executive Woman,
Mhm.
yes, you want to go to work.
Your
But
own
we're
boss.
not all so we're not all
Yeah.
so lucky. So, but if you can't say I want to go to work, can you say I choose to go to work? I will go to work because it's worth it to me.
Mhm.
Now, if you can't say I choose to go to work, if it
Mhm.
is really I have to go to work,
Mhm.
that's your signal. It's time to look for a different job.
To change
Right.
the situation.
Right. What are your options?
Mhm.
Is it really true I have to do
Mhm.
anything?
And I think something else about the I have to, the
Mm.
language of obligation, is because also we tell our minds that we don't have an option,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
Mm-hmm.
But when you know that there's an option, I can, like you said, it's time to look for another job.
Yeah.
And most of us don't think that way. We're just thinking, I hate my job, I have to go to work, I have to be in the traffic jam.
Mm-hmm.
But when you stop back and you say, I actually have options.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm choosing to go to work because it's going to benefit me to go to work.
Mm-hmm.
And once you can't say that anymore,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, open your mind, get your freedom back, get your strength back.
So, Christy, what an amazing conversation there. Moving from language of choice, language of obligation, to choice, which gives you power, it gives you freedom, and it awakens the executive person in you who is making the decisions. Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, when
Yeah.
you find that inner executive who chooses, you're taking a lot of responsibility. So it may seem fluffy that you get to do whatever you want now. But when you choose, you actually become a bigger person.
Yeah. And it gives you more responsibility, actually, when you make a choice, because you're holding yourself against the same things you've chosen to do.
You don't have anyone to blame anymore.
Yeah.
So decide. Yeah.
Amazing. Now, if you want to hear more about how you can move from obligation, the language of obligation, to the language of choice, Christy is a life coach. She will be able to help you to move from powerlessness to power, self-power.
Yeah, just go to awakencoaching.com and I think you'll find what you need there.
Yeah,
And we can start a conversation.
exactly. And we've just talked about finding the executive you within
And so
yourself.
Rose is the founder of the Executive Woman.
Great.
So go to the Executive Woman online and you will find just a wealth of information for women who are in that position of being an executive.
Great. Thank you, Christy.